This is Juan De Dios Castillo, head women's soccer coach at Southwestern Christian, and you're listening to the Mass Futbol podcast.
Yo, welcome back to the Mas Futbol podcast, the number one soccer podcast in Oklahoma City. I am your host, Ricardo Ulloa, and I am here at Legacy Real Estate today. Shout out to the sponsors, and I appreciate them for allowing me to use their space. If you're looking to buy, sell, invest, like they always say, right now is the perfect time, so hit them up. But I'm not by myself today. I am here with a guest. I have a soccer director, head coach of the women's soccer team at Southwestern Christian. I was doing some research. He represented Mexico at one time of his life. And I don't know him personally, but it sounds and it seems like he has some rich soccer culture in his life. So I'm really excited to listen to this. My friend, gonna be my friend, Juan De Dios Castillo. ¿Cómo estás?
Muy bien. Thank you for the invitation.
Of course. Thank you for coming on. And I also appreciate the support that you've always been giving me with the podcast.
Oh, no problem.
Esas palabritas y mensajes que me mandan, they always give me some energy, so I appreciate that. And I appreciate you for coming on too. For the people that don't know you, Juan, what do I call you? Coach Juan, Coach Castillo?
Coach Juan is fine. Juan is fine. Yeah.
My brother's name is Juan too.
Okay.
So a le decimos Nani.
Nani?
Nani.
It's my mom's nickname, actually.
Nani? Really? Yeah. They said whenever he was young, they told me to call him Johnny. Y le puse Nani.
Oh.
Y así se quedó. So he's always been Nani. But tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I was born and raised in Mexico, and I met my wife. She went down there on a mission trip. She's from Tulsa, and we met. We fell in love. We dated for 2 years, and then we got married, and she moved down there for 10 years.
Wow.
So we lived down there 10 years. We had our 2 boys, and after 10 years, we decided to move up here to Oklahoma. So we relocated in the Tulsa area, Kiefer.
Okay.
And I was about 37 years old when we moved up here. Down there, I did, I played a little bit of soccer. My dad was a soccer coach, and he played as well. And then I studied dentistry. So I had a master's in prosthodontics.
I did see that. I didn't mention that, but you're a dentist then, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I did that for 8 years. I became a director of a master's in a college, and I did that for 2 years, and then we relocated here. And
so you touched down in Oklahoma City for the first time at the age of 37?
In Tulsa.
In
Tulsa area, yeah. Oklahoma City, I moved up here a year ago because I was commuting for a year before that when I got the job, a year and a half. Yeah.
And what part of Mexico?
Monterrey.
Monterrey?
Yeah.
Regio, pues.
Sí.
Nice.
Yeah.
Tigres or Monterrey?
Well, Tigres is my alma mater.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So,
nice.
But with my dad, we move around Mexico a lot. We live in Guadalajara, in Mexico City, Puebla, so many different states. Chiapas, or the south, north, center of Mexico.
Wow.
So we live around a lot because of coaching. Yeah.
For the people that don't know, and I was doing my research too. Your father was he a professional soccer coach? Mm-hmm. And I even had seen that he was top 10 for coaching. Is it outside of outside. Mexico? Mm-hmm. Tell me about that. Tell me about your past. Like, how was that?
So he coached at every level. Juan De Dios Castillo.
Juan De Dios Castillo también. Okay.
So he coached at every level too, from youth to all the way to pros and then national teams.
Wow.
So he coached the under 20 and under 23 Mexico national team, and then he coached the main Honduras national team and the El Salvador national team as well. So I think he's one of 3 Mexican coaches in all history that have coached different national teams. Yeah.
That's true. Mm-hmm. Muchos que entrenan al equipo México, pero no hay muchos mexicanos que entrenan otras nacionales. What other 2 coaches do you know?
I think it's Aguirre, because he coached Mexico and then in Japan, I think.
That's right.
I think the other one, who was it? I saw a list the other day, but I can't remember. But yeah, I mean, it's just
that's amazing.
Three of them. Mm-hmm.
And I can see now why you said that you were traveling all over the place. So if he'd coach, you'd go?
Yes.
Okay.
Up until I was in college, that's when I decided I'm gonna stay in Monterrey. Yeah.
Nice.
Because it was too much. It was
I can
every
imagine.
year, maybe 2 years or a year, he'll move places. So
it's kind of the side that nobody talks about of soccer. The moving around, the sacrifice that it takes. 'Cause it's a lot. Doing this podcast, I hear even for college kids, but it's such a sacrifice.
It's a big sacrifice. Yeah.
Nice. And then I guess you played then, right?
Yeah. So I grew up, playing soccer, and then when we were located in Mexico City, we were there for almost 4 years. So I played at Pumas, and I was in what it was called back then. It was the reserve teams, which is kind of like the after the main ones.
Your second
we
team.
were the second team, and they promoted you, and you practice with the pros and all that. So I was there for almost 3 years, and I got to practice and travel with the team sometimes, but never quite debuted. As a pro. But I had offers to go to second division and maybe be a starter. But I always thought that the experience that I had there, I had Jorge Campos was my teammate, Miguel España, like big names. I thought it was cool, so I just stayed. So I understand my players when they don't play that much. Cause I was 3 years on the bench. So.
Yeah. Do you think, looking back on it now, would you have done things differently?
No, I'll stay the same.
Pues quién te quita esa experiencia de jugando al lado de Jorge Campos.
Yeah, now you get to hang out and know them, them and all that. So that's pretty cool.
Nice. What other players would you rub shoulders with?
So here's the funny story. So I was playing in the reserve teams, and then my dad got the gig for the Mexico U20.
Nice.
So he called up a bunch of players, and one of them was me. So I was, I went to several of his callings and all that, and I thought I was doing pretty good. And some of my teammates that now they play World Cups and all that, they're telling me like, "Oh, you're doing great." So me thinking, it's my dad, this opportunity. We're going to the World Cup in Australia, and all that. I thought that I was going to be at least part of the 20 that traveled, and no, he cut me off.
Really? Your dad said no?
Yeah, my dad said, "You're not ready." So,
what position were you playing?
I played midfield.
Midfield?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did he give you a reason?
I was not ready for that challenge. And I mean, I could see that. I have on my team, I can throw names. I don't know if people will know, but like Osvaldo Sanchez was the goalkeeper.
Yeah, that's just a random goalie in Mexico. Yeah. Nice. That guy is top
he
tier.
Is top. Duilio Davino is another one. We had Jesus Solalde that played with different teams as well. Manuel Sol, Chiquis Garcia that ended up being assistant coach for the La Volpe. So it was a big group of kids that end up playing.
Yeah, big time. My house is a Chivas house.
Oh, so
I
Joel Sanchez, Tiburon Sanchez, he was part of that team.
Wow, Osvaldo Sanchez, Sol, all those guys. That's crazy.
So so I kind of knew, but I thought, he's gonna give me a break with us now. My dad was pretty fair, so.
Yeah, I mean that was probably a tough pill to swallow right there.
Yeah.
It's because you have your dad as a coach, but I mean. You have to see him as a coach in those moments, but at the same time, you can never lose sight of him being your dad. So, that's tough.
And it was very tough because when we were in the hotels and all that stuff, like it took a while for the group to take me in because they thought, he's gonna go tell coach that
Well, deja de eso,
crazy, blah blah blah.
Maybe they're just like, who is this guy? Oh, he's the coach's son. Pues de seguro por eso está aquí or something like that. So
I got to prove myself
on the field as well. Wow. Wow.
So but then I feel that I earned the respect and and they trusted me and they knew that what we did. I was part of the team as well, and I mean that helped me a lot. I grew a lot there. So
to have had played there, you would have had to have played somewhere else. Like, where did your fundamentals come from? I mean, you had your dad as your coach, so I mean, that's probably where it came from.
Mainly Pumas. Pumas came. That was my fundamentals. And when I was in Puebla, I was part of the youth academy of Puebla. So that's also where I got those fundamentals. But mainly Pumas. Most of my coaches were from Pumas, and a lot of them end up coaching pro and all that. So.
And when you were playing at Pumas, I'm assuming your dad was coaching in Mexico City. Was he coaching for Pumas?
No,
he was coaching the U20.
Yeah, he was coaching the U20. Yeah.
Nice. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I hear from a lot of players that play in Mexico and their experience of playing in Pumas, stories of Casa Club, you know, stories like that. Do you have any experiences like that? Because I can hear it can get pretty rough as well.
Since I live in Mexico City, I didn't live in the Casa Club. So I was just like at home, and I will just take the bus to go there. And then when I start driving, I will just drive.
Nice.
But I have experiences like when we, we'll travel and with the main, do preseason or something like that. At a time or two, Tuca Ferretti was a coach.
Okay.
So he'll invite me to practices and stuff. And he was wild, like crazy. He was so mean.
He still seems like a wild guy.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, it's very mean and demanding on the field, but outside the field, he's a nice guy.
Yeah,
he's a very nice. Yeah. So it's a very nice guy, very funny, but like coaching wise, like, oh my gosh, he'll curse you out.
I've seen the video.
Yeah.
That famoso video where he gets the ball as a volley. Yeah. You have to be like that. I assume to be at a certain level, especially at the level that he is, as respected as he is in Mexico.
And that's the thing. On that video, he's like 60-something years old. When I had him, he was like 30-something. So he had a lot more energy.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So then you, I guess, finished playing with Pumas? No jugaste en Tigres? You just studied?
No. And then, I went straight to dentistry. But every summer I would go with my dads on preseason camps and just like hang out. Yeah, because I was very like attracted to the coaching side. Like I always loved like the way he treated the players, how could he managed like their egos and stuff, because he coached like big names and big players. So I was very interested on that aspect of it, So when I retired, I started just continue going. Every time that I had vacations or whatever, I would go with him, and I would just spend a lot of time there, just hanging out with the players, but also like trying to learn and stuff. Yeah. But I never thought I was going to coach.
Never.
It was just like, I just liked it a lot. I never thought I was going to coach.
That was going to be my next question. Assuming how much you liked it, I figured that you always knew that you were going to be a coach.
No. I just like to be, hang out with my dad. So I would just like hang out. I remember one time he didn't have a team. We were living in Monterey. I was already in college, and he got this call from a local club that they want to go to the Dallas Cup, right? And
famous Dallas Cup.
And he asked me to help him, and I was kind of like his assistant, so we did that. And it was a very local, small group of kids, and he coached them for like 3 months, and then ended up going to the finals in the Dallas Cup. And it was a very cool experience. And they went into a Tigres, that was the final, and they lost 2-0. But it was a good game, and a lot of those kids got recruited by Tigres, and things like that. So that's when I started thinking, like, well, I kind of like coaching, but I was already in dentistry, and my dad wanted me to finish and do
plan B or maybe your plan A and have coaching as a plan.
But he asked me, a while back before college, he told me like, you should do the coaching course in Mexico, you should. And I was like, I'm never gonna coach. Why would I want to do that?
Yeah.
And then
and you did it?
No, I didn't.
No,
I did the U.S. ones here, but not the Mexican ones. Yeah.
Would you have had to do the U.S. ones if you did the Mexico ones, or
no? Because the Mexico is a pro level, so it's kind of like UEFA. Yeah. So if you do that down there, I think right now it's 2 years that you have to do the course. And then you're done, and then you're a coach, like a professional coach. So,
Sure, I might have to travel to Mexico to get the coaching license done and then bring it back here.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a different dynamic than here.
Is it? ¿En qué sentido?
For what I've seen, because I have friends that have finished it, it's a more hands-on. Obviously, you spend more time on the field, a lot more time. Here, it's very like split up. A lot of... it's more classroom, I feel, than
more data and more looking at it.
Which is part of one of the things that I like. The organizational side of it here is a little bit better. The soccer side of it, I feel in Mexico, is a little bit different.
Yeah, because that feels almost like NFL style. Like stop.
All the stats.
Porque at the end of the day, you can keep tracks for soccer, but there's a lot of stuff that you just can't track. The grit, the passion, because all that stuff does translate, but there's just certain data points I don't think you can capture.
Yeah, and what I found, because I started really coaching seriously when I moved up here. So I was like around 37 when I started really coaching at WSA in Tulsa. And I did that for 3 years, and then I got offered to coach women's college in a UCO in Tonkawa. So I did that for 2 years, and then I got
NOC.
SCU. Yeah, NOC.
That's where my brother went to school. Nice.
Okay, yeah. So I coached there 2 years, and then a lot of my interactions with a lot of coaches. Not everybody, but a lot of coaches here in America. They're very square. Very like.
See,
This is the way. I'm the head coach, and I know everything, and you cannot question me. And so it's like too much respect sometimes,
Yeah.
And where I come from, it was more, you can argue with your coach in a respectful way, but like ways and systems and this and that and things like that, because ultimately the player is the one on the field, so they see what you don't see sometimes, right? And so I like to have that on my teams, like where I give them that autonomy and they can. I mean, we have a plan, but they have freedom as well, right?
So it seems like they are aware of their, I guess, right and freedom to express their opinion, or you have to let me know kind of thing.
And the thing is, there's a lot of coaches that they always tell you soccer is a player's game, but when it comes down to it, they want to control it as coaches.
Yeah.
They want to call the plays, they want to do this, they want to be shouting all game long, and that's another thing that I've noticed. That they shout every move, every play, turn, blah, 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 and that's the players need to do that.
See, I haven't done much coaching, but I do have kind of like a philosophy that once the game starts, there's not really much you can do. Players rely on their habits and what you've done in training. You can try to motivate, do a little things, but everything else is just kind of out of your hands.
Yeah, and that's why you have the week to prepare the game. So on the week is when you can correct, when you can do this, when you can blow the whistle and repeat. But then during the game, you have to sit down and hope that the players will do and stick to the plan and do what they practice.
Nice.
That's what, because when you're shouting something to a player, by the time that the player look at you to kind of, the second play is already gone. So now you mess them up on 2 plays, right? The first one and then the second one, and so it's not good. I always tell my players, like, when I tell you, don't look at me, just like give me a thumbs up or whatever but watch the game.
Acknowledge, but do your job.
Yeah, or nod or something. But because a lot of players are used to like turn around and lock eyes with the coach, because that's respectful.
Yeah.
But I'm like, but that's not the game.
Yeah. It's interesting. My previous coach that I had here, he mentioned that it's very much a relationship, give and take. Give and take, give and take, give and take. I'll give you the respect, you give it back to me, and stuff like that. And that's good. I like the way that you said that. And you also give me hope. You said you coached at 37. I'm 31. I have 6 more years to get in the game.
Yeah.
Because I eventually do want to start coaching. Because, eventually you stop playing. Pero todavía tengo esa espinilla. And I guess I'm kind of poking it with this, but I want to be able to start coaching one day.
Yeah. Well, America is like what will be the word? Like, it's not the norm. Because in America, you can start coaching college when you're like 24. And in anywhere in the world, it will be really hard to find a head coach that is 24, 25 of an organized team. So usually it's when you're in your 30s,
That's some experience. Coaching.
That's when you kind of start being a head coach and stuff. So you are on the right path if you want to do it. I mean, there's no age really.
Yeah.
I mean, there's coaches that have been older, but America is very different.
So you haven't done any coaching in Mexico?
No.
No? Does it intrigue you? Is that something that you maybe might want to do?
I have friends in Monterrey that one of them works for a newspaper, and he always like trying to promote me. But Mexico is a very like small circle of coaches, so I know that it will be really hard. And I know the conditions there. Once you go in a pro level, you can go with all the aspirations and the dreams, and then 2 months in, the results don't turn out how you want it, and then you're done.
And then there's the bureaucracy of it.
So it's almost like, I want to give up, developing kids here, helping them, with their careers and their soccer and all that. Or I want to, venture on that, and then in 3 months it's over.
Yeah, no.
And then you don't have either one. So it's like...
Yeah, that's true. I feel like you might have a better opportunity to have a bigger footprint impact here.
So, yeah, I mean, it would have to be like an amazing offer or some project, really good one. in order to do that. So I don't know.
No, well, I think you're doing good here because now you're at Southwestern Christian. Is this your first year at Southwestern Christian?
No, this is my third year.
Third year? Okay. How's it going this year for you?
It's going good. So far, we're going good. So, I got hired to rebuild the program and restructure everything according to their standards. So we've been trying to do that for the past 3 years. So I feel like finally this is my first recruiting class. That all of them are the kids that I have recruited. So we'll see if that pans out. But so far we're doing fine. So
nice. How do you tackle a college program? I know you have experience, but I asked this to Adam K, who was at Southwestern, who he had two, just like back to back, just new teams. How do you I was asking, how do you implement your culture when you're just, especially the 6 month, the Des Moines trip that you had. You were only there for 4 months, Adam, and you killed it. How do you do that and impose your culture onto these players? What is your culture?
So I got the fortune to work with Adam for the time that he was at ISCU. So we had a lot of conversations. One of the things that I like about him is that his approach. He's very aggressive and let's things get done now, and he doesn't linger or waits around and if I could change something from the moment I arrived at ISCU is that I was kind of like, oh, let's give these kids a second chance, maybe, I don't know them that well, and it's not like that. It's like, are they a good fit for the program? No, boom. Bring somebody that's going to be a good fit, and there's always going to be, that's another thing that I learned from him, is there's always going to be kids that want that opportunity. So if somebody feels that, they're entitled or, oh, I'm a star, no, I can find somebody else. Yeah. And that's one of the things that he had a lot of success with, because everybody knew that they could be replaced at any given time. So if Adam, for the standards that he set, if they were not up to the standards,
somebody else is going to want it. Yeah. And I feel like that just breeds a culture of, and not cutthroat, but high standards.
Well, I mean, if you look at it, it's almost like it is a job.
Yeah.
So it's based on performance. So you have to perform when you're a student athlete. You have to perform on and off the field. So you set certain standards, and if you're not performing on any of those, then you have to adjust. So that's one of the things that I will change, I think, in my first 2 years, is that I saw some things and I was like, oh, but I'm going to give them a chance, and that was not right.
It was costing you maybe at time.
Oh, yeah, big time.
But I mean, and then it also just depends on the player, how they take it. Are you going to take that and fix it, work on your game, or are you going to let it kind of bring it down?
You always have to talk to them, because first of all, they're humans.
Yeah.
So you talk to them, you warn them, hey, this is what I expect you, and this is what I expect from you, this. And then if there's a second time, there's a third time, it's like, nah, we're gonna play that game.
Interesting. I like to hear that.
Yeah.
So you took that from Adam. What did you take from your dad?
What I take from my dad, so this is funny because when I did the last U.S. course a few years ago, they talk a lot about this empathetic. It's called what they call it. It's a type of philosophy. It's being empathetic, holistic, the holistic coach. So this is like the guy that worries about and cares about the player, but as a person. And they were given this almost like if it was like a
psychology.
No, like like those, like a pearl, like a golden ticket. Like, oh, this is something that you're gonna implement in your coaching, and it's great. And I was like, so you guys don't do it like that? Because that was my dad always. Like he was always the player, the person first, and then the player. So, and he coached in the 80s and the 90s, and I was like, oh, these guys are telling me like this is a new thing, a new approach, and to me that was kind of surprising. That I was like, oh, so you guys don't have a relationship with your players, like you don't care about their families and all that stuff. So it's different. It's just a different culture, and I mean I don't know if it was new on the U.S. soccer thing, but it was. When they told us that was the new course that they had, and it always struck me like, oh, I thought everybody did that.
Maybe everybody wasn't being empathetic,
Maybe
cruel,
not.
or they
Maybe
just
not.
maybe a lot of kids were giving up soccer at 13 and they're trying to find out ways to keep them.
Right? That's the other thing. There's a lot of kids around that they transfer, that they don't like it, and a lot of it is because of the coaches, and that sucks because the sport is beautiful.
I agree.
Right? So I always feel really bad if I have one player that is not having a good time. I mean, I'm going to be demanding, but I also want him to have a good time because it is a game. So if it loses that part of the
essence,
element,
the
the
passion.
essence, it's a game, and you want to play because you have fun. And if you lose that, then it's a job.
But how do you manage that at the stage that you are now, learning what you just learned from Adam? Because it is a passion, there is an essence. But like you said, at some point it turns into a job. It turns into performance. It turns into results.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the hardest part is finding that medium of it being a job, the passion, the essence that you used to carry when you were a kid at 11 years old. You used to be able to just do whatever you wanted.
Yeah.
How do you balance that?
I think a big element is being fair as a coach. You're going to make mistakes. Granted, but you always try to be fair. So one of the things is always, when you set out the rules or the covenants or this, try to stick to them, try to be fair. And like, that's one of the things that when I came in, my first 2 years at NOC, I was very like, I'm here, I'm your coach, I coach you. I have a relationship, but that's it. I have my assistant. My assistant was kind of like the mediator between me and the players. It was me, the players, and soccer. I do run the sessions. I do this and this business, right? And if they needed something, then I was there for them, and they know that, and blah blah blah. But it was a very, like,
just A to B.
We're gonna go, and the group was very professional in that way, right? So at SCU was different. They were not used to when I got in there. They were not used to, like, for example, preseason, like 2-a-days. And very demanding things,
especially in the heat, in Oklahoma heat.
All the stuff, certain standards. Like, for example, for me, like, all this, like, seniority in America, like, that doesn't exist in my opinion. Like, everybody's the same, so you have to prove your worth every day, right? So I don't care if you've been here 4 years, you're not gonna play just because you've been here 4 years.
Can't get comfortable that way,
right? So. All those little things like, pick up the equipment. Freshmen, no, we're not gonna do that. Like, everybody's gonna help. So, like, all those type of things, like, you start creating that atmosphere and that,
type of
culture, and then little by little, it starts picking up. The problem is when you have bad apples, and then that kind of creates and separates, especially with women's soccer. Like, they're very good at hiding a lot of their feelings. So you need to kind of like be very perceptive about those things, because otherwise it gets under your nose, and then when
you get blindsided by something like that.
So on COVID year, we had a good team, but something was not clicking, and I couldn't understand. I could not put my finger on it, and I was talking to my then assistant, and it was like, we changed tactics and we changed formation. And I kept telling him, this is beyond that. Like, I don't feel that this is soccer. And yes, later on, I found out that there was a lot of cliques on the team, and that they were pulling the team apart. So, got to fix those things. And so the team is one, because most of the times, I always tell my players, like, you cannot always be the best player on your team, but you can always be the most important.
Yeah.
Right? So,
that's true.
If you do your part, then the machine works. But some people, unfortunately, there's kids that their parents always tell me, you're the best, you're number one. And then they get to that team and they don't play for whatever reason, and then they feel like, I'm not playing, I'm not that, so I'm not going to celebrate, I'm not going to join this, so the team starts dividing, and that's the problem.
And we notice when you're not celebrating, when you're off in the corner, as much as you think we can't tell, we see it.
I know. Body language is like, it screams at you. Like, even though you're not saying anything, it screams. So,
nice.
So, yeah. So, fairness, I think, is one of those things that
Yeah.
You can set, and always acknowledge. Like I always tell my players that when I make a mistake, I'm gonna approach it and be like, "Hey, I should have played you. I think, I made a mistake. There's nothing wrong with being humble. I feel so. I don't know everything. I've been around great coaches, and I always hear him say, "I don't know everything."
Yeah.
So
that's good. I like that because it also that brings a level of respect. Because they see that you're able to critique yourself and always look for better ways and options that might motivate them to do that as well with them internally.
And if they don't see that, then maybe they're not part of that. They're not going to be part of that program.
They're not cut from the cloth.
Yeah. If they only see themselves, then maybe we need to move on. So
At NOC, were you coaching girls as well?
Yeah, I coach girls.
And as well as before, when you were coaching before the NOC?
So I coached 1 year at WSA girls, but the 3 years previously it was boys.
Oh, okay.
I never thought I was going to coach women ever. No, coming from Mexico, I was like, nah. Like women's soccer is not something that it was appealing. And then they needed a coach, and Roger Bush, the director, he asked me if I could coach this 98 group. So I went and watched them play, and I saw their passion and everything. And I said, well, let me coach them for like 3 or 4 sessions. And I saw like they wanted, they were very disciplined, and I was like, oh, I like this. It's pretty cool. And I started coaching women and girls, and then I didn't go back.
No. What do you think the difference is? Can you put a finger on it from one another?
So guys, they always think they're better than what they really are.
It's an ego.
Yeah. And girls is the opposite. A guy, you have to convince him and tell him, like, hey, you're not that good. Yeah, bájale. And women is different. You have to tell them, like, no, you did good. Because women are the first critics. Are like, I did horrible. I played horrible. No, you did good. So that's a big difference.
Okay.
And girls listen a lot more. And guys kind of like, oh, I know everything. What are you going to teach me?
It's an ego thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an ego.
Dang.
I had it.
Yeah. I believe I had it too. I had it
so
too.
I know and I understand it, but I move on.
Yeah.
Because now you go to the other part.
Now you're on the other side.
Coaches now
with the ego
that they will put kids on the spot, like, oh, when I played, I used to, and I'm like, where did you play? Like, what do you win? Like the Dollar General tournament, like that's nothing. You know what I mean? So we have to always be kind of like. Not references like that. Like I always tell them, when my girls ask me, like, Coach, why didn't you just keep playing us? Because I wasn't good enough. I hit my peak, and then that was it. And that and I move on. So at one point I was okay. I never said, oh, I was great. I never missed a pass. Oh my gosh, no.
Yeah.
Those coaches, and I've heard those coaches here saying, oh, when I play, I never miss a pass, and I was like,
really?
Well, how many minutes you play? Because if you never miss the pass, then you play like 2 minutes.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, that's impossible. Like, even the greatest players, they miss passes. Come on.
All the time.
They make mistakes all the time. So, being in college, and then you recruit these kids that they don't have fundamentals. And it's so hard to teach an 18-year-old player something that they should have known when they were 10 or 11, like scanning. Like, how do you... I mean, they can learn it, but now it's like, oh, man, now you have to go back and, scan and over your shoulder and this and that. And so you have to go over and over, but there's patience. You have to have patience. You have to put in the work. Yeah. But if the player shows me that they want to learn, I'll stay with them. But there's other players that they just talk.
Yeah.
I want to do this, and that they never take action.
Yeah, what was really interesting about what you just said is receiving players that don't have their fundamentals. What's up with that? Because is it just the way that what is it? Because I agree with you. Sometimes it's Mateo said it. I'm bringing up a lot, but he said, like Johan Cruyff said, if I'm 6 times better than many players because I can use inside outside knuckle of both feet. And scanning, it's just those little things that if you just watch somebody, even the moments without the ball, you can just tell what fundamentals they do and don't have. What are we lacking here? Good
coaches at grassroots, probably. I mean, I haven't been on the club side for a while now, so I don't know what they're doing, but I know the end product that I have on the level that I'm coaching, because I have to be realistic as well. I'm coaching NAIA Division 1, and I know that there's teams, D1 powerhouses that they're great. But then I watch some of the games and I'm like, we're lacking some fundamentals as well. Just because they're great athletes and they run super fast, they beat another player. But if they go to another level with skill-wise, if they're good and their soccer IQ is higher, they're going to struggle. You know what I mean? So I think that's what it is grassroots. And then it's also the players. They spend more time on TikTok. They spend more time doing other things than spending time on playing
they
soccer.
only just go to the practices,
And
no
that's it.
personal training on the side, no self-training.
And sometimes, when I grew up, there was no personal training.
No, pero si no le calabas tú solo...
There was the sidewalk or the wall.
Yeah.
And then you kick it against that. If you didn't have anybody else, and then go. I mean, I see it with basketball guys here, with basketball girls. They go out and they're shooting hoops all the time. They want to get better. They don't have sometimes a personal trainer. They just go out and do it.
Do you think it might be just because, and I might be ignorant to every other sport, but with soccer, there's just a plethora of things that you can work on, as opposed to if you can score, you're great. But with soccer, like, you could go and kick against the wall for an hour. You could kick the ball against the hour and then focus on turning. You could kick the ball against the hour and working on your one touch. You could kick the ball for an hour and work on the outside of the foot. Do we just have a whole bunch of things that or are we just not doing it?
No, we're not doing it. No, because basketball has a lot of things. Like being in college, I've been able to be in close contact with coaches, and I see their practices and this stuff, and there's so many things: footwork, handwork, coordination.
Definitely,
all these things. Like left, layup,
left hand, right hand,
this and that.
Perimeter shooting, inside shooting, in the paint movement, posting up,
all quickness and reaction, and all these things. So it's just because we're not doing it. But then again, you have kids practicing 3 hours a week, and that's all. And then if they have personal training, sometimes it's just mechanical movements. They're not like situational. So, I mean, it will help them in a situation maybe, but then that's it. They don't know how to stand on the field. That's one of the things that I have right now is a lot of players, they don't know their positional.
Kind of like positional awareness, shape.
Where are the pockets, but because they don't scan, they don't see. So, it's one thing after another, and then it comes out to be like, oh man, we got to work on a lot of things.
Sometimes it must be pretty frustrating for you.
I mean, it's not frustrating.
It's a job, kind of. That's what you have to work with.
It's a challenge, but not frustrating because it's not their fault. Yeah. It's whoever was coaching them before. So I'm just trying to help them grow as much as I can in the amount of time that I have them.
So then when it comes down to your recruiting, how do you go about that? Like, are there specific things that you look for? What kind of scale do you rate these players at?
So, yeah, I mean, technical, I like very technical players. I like players that know and they can play soccer, right? Before I see their athleticism, which is sometimes different. Like, a lot of people say, oh, man, she's so fast. Yeah, but she plays very slow. So you can be very fast runner, but you play very slow because you never, release the ball. You don't know when to dribble and then when to pass and things like that. So I try to see my player as a technical player. Like, is she aware what's around her? Did she see that pass? Because then sometimes you have a player. I recruited a girl from the midfield that she will play through balls. And when I went to watch her in Texas, but nobody was there. But then I noticed that the forward was lazy. But so she was playing the right ball a lot of the times, but the forward or the other midfielder, they were not stepping, or they were not, or they will check and then they'll go away. They will never, you know what I mean? So it was a coordination type of thing. But the girl had the idea of what she wanted to do. And then when I invited her to practice with my team, it clicked. It was just like, boom, and it was like, so there's certain traits that you can see, like center backs. Like, are they going to be, a strong, fast, well, can they hit the ball in the right direction? Not just pretend to hit the ball, but can they actually bring it down to another player? Things like that. So
that's a lot of hours. A lot of just sitting down, watching the boring stuff.
Yeah.
Watching habits and whatnot.
Yeah, how they react when they make a mistake.
Yeah.
That's a big thing.
That's
because everybody's going to make a mistake, but how do you react to that?
Yeah.
Are you gonna run back, or are you gonna yell to your teammate? Are you gonna fuzz? You know, are you gonna throw your arms up, and all those little things. Yeah.
Wow.
They
So
matter.
how do you go about then scouting? Do you have a report, send somebody out, or do you watch?
I usually do it
Oklahoma?
myself. Yeah, I usually do it myself. Once you have coach for a little while, then you have players that you trust. So then you have players that will say, "Coach, you need to take a look at this girl," and then I'll go and watch them, and then okay, and then great player. Now, how is she as a person? You know, is she gonna fit our environment, our philosophy? You know, so those little things matter a lot, big time.
And then you ask, how are the grades looking?
Yeah, exactly.
At the end, that's a lot.
Is she a good student? Does she like school? Because that's the other thing. Like we have,
Great
especially
players.
with the internationals, they want to play soccer,
Yeah.
but they don't care much about school. So we have to see those things. Like last year, I had Naomi Oliva, which is the top scorer that SEU has had. She's from Guatemala. She was fantastic. Probably the best forward I ever coached.
Really?
Had D1 schools already looking at her. It was amazing. She didn't know much English. Her English was very basic. She was learning, but she got frustrated and got frustrated and got frustrated. So it's going to be a good match, you know. But she was the kind of person that was great, that you want to invest in her. So, you know, we got tutors and things like that in school, so to help her and all that. But otherwise, you could be great, but you're not going to be great at this. So you're a student athlete.
Did she end up playing D1?
No, she tore her ACL for the third time.
Third time?
Yeah, she retired.
Same knee? No manches.
Yeah.
Wow. Is she still here in Oklahoma?
No, she moved back to Guatemala. She
God.
scored 18 goals in 14 games.
Jesus.
Unbelievable player.
Yeah.
I mean, she was great.
When you see a player that's cut from a different color, you can see it in their eyes that they're just different. What other players have you seen that are like that? Or even when you were playing in the youth national team, you played with a lot of great players, but were there any of them that you were just like...
Well, when I was playing the national team, there was Julio Davino, and he's a few months younger than me, and he was a defender, center back, and he's left-footed, and he could not kick with his right foot. So they told him, like, you need to improve your right foot. And then we saw each other again like 8 months later on another call-up, and it was very good with his right foot.
And he forgot to lose his left foot, huh?
No.
I've seen
So
that,
he
though.
impressed me because he, in those 8 months, he probably put a lot of work on the right foot.
Yeah.
And then the other one, obviously, is Osvaldo Sanchez. Osvaldo was always positive, great teammate, friendly, and hardworking kid.
Yeah.
Hardworking kid. He worked really hard.
Yeah.
So those are the ones that you see and you're like, oh, he's gonna make it. He's gonna be a good player.
It's crazy. I got a lot of respect for Osvaldo Sanchez, man. I lived the best moments of my Chivas lifetime when he was there. Yeah, it was a great team. Sol, Bofo, Bravo, all those guys.
Yeah.
Good times. Good times.
Claudio Suarez.
Yeah. I had also heard a story of Osvaldo Sanchez cuando le llegó su tiempo de debutar in 2006 in his World Cup, and that tough time that he had right before the World Cup.
His dad.
Yes, I forgot what interview I heard him speak about it, but I was like, damn, it's from China. Like, just talking about it. That's so crazy because I go back to the sacrifice that these players have to make. And his dad's final words with him were like, ¿Qué le dijo? Don't let anybody rob you of this World Cup. And then his dad passes away, a few days?
A few days before the match.
And they're in Germany already. And he talks about how Jorge Campos lo acompañó through Munich, trying to get there, go back, and then they make it back to the team. Because he had that confidence from the coach. The coach said, this is your World Cup. You can do whatever you want. You can go back, you can stay, we'll respect it. And then the team came back and said, do what you have to do. And he went back and came back, and that was like crazy.
Well, I'll tell you another story. So my dad, before he passed away, he developed skin cancer.
Really?
So he got really, really sick. He got really weak. So Osvaldo Sanchez, he was in Santos, which is like 4 hours away from Monterrey, and my parents were living in Monterrey. So he drove to see my dad.
Really?
And then he paid for all the arrangements for the funeral, for all the stuff, and nobody knew that. Like he told my mom, like, I'm gonna take care of Coach, and this and that, and they spend like hours together. They cried, all this stuff, and my mom told me that I wasn't there. So that's the kind of guy. He is like top notch. Yeah. So yeah, I love him.
Respect.
Yeah.
Oh, you added a few more tears to him in my book. That story. That's crazy.
And the funny thing is that he only coached him in the youth in the national team. So they spent like maybe a year and a half together, 2 years at the most. But they had that relationship forever. So it's pretty cool.
Coaches and players, man. I forgot who I had told, but the amount of respect you give a coach is almost up there with the amount of respect you give your parents. Because they're there with you in other hard moments that other people just aren't. So that's huge. Such a responsible role.
Yeah, because then there's the other side. There's coaches that
just don't do a good job.
Jerks, and then they tear down people, and they scar them for life. So yeah, we got to be careful with that.
Yeah, we do. So you have some pictures here for me. What do you have?
I brought you some pictures, just like history. Like that's my dad in the national, in the World Cup in Australia on the press conference. That's me on one of the camps with Osvaldo Sanchez and Chiquis Garcia.
Osvaldo Sanchez still has that big old brow.
Yeah.
Same ceja.
That's me before a match against the national team.
Remember with the national team right here.
It's me.
These are insane.
With Carlos Hermosillo before, we'll scrimmage against the main national team.
Yeah, that's him.
It's me and my dad before a match in Jalisco.
Nice.
This is a cool picture because they have several. There's a tour that we did in South America, so several of the players are there. I don't know. I'm the shortest one, obviously, but
yeah, you are.
Flavio Davino, which is Duilio's brother, and there's several. All of them play first, national team.
Man, this is amazing.
I just, things for you to see.
I'm sure you have some stories.
Oh yeah.
Tell me a story while I look up some of these pictures. First one that comes to mind when you see this one right here.
Oh man, yeah, that was a fun bunch.
What did you guys do? What were you guys doing?
Oh, just that, you go practice and you'll do, 2-a-days. And then at night, sometimes coach, my dad will be like, oh, you have the night off, so you can go. And I have a story when I was, so we were, we went to a disco because it was on the coast. And
that's crazy.
And the assistant coach, Carlos Nunez, he told us, hey, you guys can party, like, no practice tomorrow, so you can go.
Dale.
And so, man, we went.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Like
he probably
4
understood.
a.m., like, partying hard. And, I've never drink, but a lot of those guys, they got pretty happy.
That's wild.
And then the next morning at 6 a.m., here comes my dad knocking on the door. We're going to practice.
Yeah.
6 a.m., we're going to run on the beach.
Really? Just you or the team?
No, the whole team.
No.
We ran 5 miles on the beach.
That was a test,
man.
huh?
It was like puke. I mean, I felt terrible because I went to bed like 2 hours before practice.
But you weren't drinking,
just dancing. No, but I was dead.
Yeah.
I was tired. But everybody was like throwing up and...
That's funny.
So we never did that again.
You talked about building a team and creating a culture and picking the right players to create a good system.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in a youth national team with 22 kids from different parts of Mexico, how do you bring a team together like that? Or is it just easier because everybody is under the same mission, wearing the same badge, pero a la vez? Like, what do you do?
It's tough. Well, I can tell you what we used to do. We used to do cookouts and, but back then we didn't have cell phones. There was no social media. So
you're seeing some of these kids for the first time as opposed to now they're all following each other.
And then you really just talk to them all the time and you hang out and, you just got close because you'll travel. Back then, we will do the tours on bus. So we'll be on the bus 13, 14 hours, riding bus, for a month.
No cell phone, no distractions.
Nothing.
Just locked up in a bus. In the heat. Ooh. No, pues.
Yeah. So I think that was it, just the human quality, And there were kids that they were not, you can tell that they were not going to be a good fit. and then all of a sudden they were gone. Like, just because. But but it's different because you're representing your country. And so
that's amazing. That is amazing. Who do you like in the Mexico national team now?
Oh man,
like what players do you say are like, okay, these guys are great, these guys got to go? Because I feel like right now in la selección we're in this we're coming into the new era where a lot of these World Cup champions that won it in U17 are not going to play after this World Cup. So we're going to have to switch it up. But what do you like? What don't you like?
You're not going to believe me, but I don't watch a lot of...
No? International?
No, not Mexico.
Liga MX? Nothing like that? No. I'm not much of a Liga MX player. I was explaining this to my wife. It's like... I don't think it's great soccer.
No. And with the national team, like after so many deceptions, I really... was one of the ones that was like, I'm not gonna watch him anymore.
Really?
Yeah. Like I'm done.
That's my dad. He's just like, I just can't. I was like, they're playing in Dallas. Anytime they come to Dallas, I run to go watch them play.
No, I mean, I watch maybe in the World Cup, but it's not. I'd rather watch teams that like, that they.
Who do you like watching?
Right now. Right now, I will say watched, the women's Euro. That's the most recent thing that I watched.
There's some good soccer too.
Yeah, England played good. I like watching Spain, women's and men's. I think Spain is really good. Luis Enrique is doing a good job there. Yeah, he's a pretty good coach.
Yeah, you like his style of coaching?
Yeah.
I can see you as a Luis Enrique type of coach.
Yeah. I like it. Obviously, Man City, but that's the impossible dream. I always say this, I see a lot of coaches, we want to play like Man City. I say, well, you don't have the players.
You don't got the budget to collect.
You don't have the players. You don't have the everything. Because, coaching, that's the funny thing. Coaching is, you can even go and watch club run a session. And that doesn't mean that you're going to run a session like he did, right? Because, like, for example, I went and watched and saw Vicente Fernandez sing. It doesn't mean I'm going to sing like him just because I watch him one time or two times or three. It's a different world. So you have to see different styles, but then you have to adapt it to what you like and then what you have. Especially what you have, because if you don't have the players to play out the back, what are you going to play out the back?
It's only going to cost you. It's going to cost you.
But there's this obsession with possession right now, like for the past 15 years.
Yeah, ever since Barcelona perfected it.
And I don't like when coaches are, we're a possession-based team, and it always annoys me because possession, keeping the ball, is just one part of the game.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like if you have a car, you say, well, what do you like about your car? Well, I like the wheels. Well, but it's a whole car, like the engine. There's, the interiors. There's
the way that it turns,
structures, everything, right? Yeah. So it's the same with soccer. Well, I like possession. Well, great, but what else? So what do you do when you win the ball? What do you do when you don't have the ball? Like all these things, like it has to be like not just one thing. It has to be like it's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing. And then on top of that, what happens when you play with somebody that isn't going to allow you to possess?
Exactly.
What do you do then?
Yeah.
So it's very situational. What would you say? I guess yours isn't possession.
I mean, I like to play. To me, good soccer is, to connect that everybody's involved. And be aggressive, attacking whatever you play, and just be spectacular. Try to be as spectacular as you can. That means you give 4 passes and then you're in the other half in a fast counter. That's great. And that means 10 passes. But I don't like the 40 million passes and then nothing happens. That's not what Guardiola ever intended. It's just like, just treat the ball right. Play it on the ground. That's what the grass is. And sometimes switch it or play deep, but one thing cannot be the system. That's what I feel like.
I feel you. I feel like you're saying like you don't want to define yourself as me being this is a possession coach because that will hurt you. Because when you're not, you're thinking to yourself you're doing a bad job. When in reality, the goal is just to score goals.
Yeah.
Whether it's dumped over the top, like you said, 3 passes, 90 passes. The point is to score. Yeah. So just score.
So, for example, we played Avila from Kansas a week ago, and we dominated the game, possession-wise and everything. And we tied 2-2. They tied us within 3 minutes before the end of the game. And it was just one mistake at that moment that a player didn't stand on, in front of the ball, and they play a through ball, boom, goal. So to me, everything that we did, it goes to the drain because we didn't pay attention to that. So if I just base my soccer on like possession, then I'm taking that element of like, hey, be aware. Step on this girl, step on the ball, mark that girl, all these elements. So
yeah, nobody ever stood up in front of a camera and said, we lost, but we played well.
Yeah. Well, there's coaches.
Well, we played well, but
there's a lot of coaches now but to me, that's almost like, it's almost like they excuse themselves. Like, well, we keep the ball and we created and then, well, yeah, but like, again, we went, this Saturday, we went to the University of Ozarks, which is a D3 school. We shot on goal 13 times. They shot on goal once. And we tied 0-0. So it's like we hit the post 3 times. So, yeah, on paper you look like, but we tied 0-0. So they also had, good luck or, they played that game and then we fell in their game and then we couldn't score. So to me, it's like, it's a tie. We don't win because we hit the post 3 times.
This is the beauty, I think, of soccer. Like, you can see a score line and see one thing, but when you watch the game, it's something completely different.
You know who Riquelme is? The player?
I loved the way he would play.
So he will say...
I'm going to click this button.
Yeah. In one interview, he was talking about all the GPS trackers, that now teams use and this and that. And he said, but how do you track a good player? Because he said, I can run less and do more with one pass. So how do you track that in your data? In the data, you can't. In soccer, you can. And that's where cultures collide. But a lot of countries are trying to do now this data, and all this started with the possession percentage, and they start adding it. And before it wasn't like that. Before it was just scoreboard. And I think that's what it needs to be stayed at, like scoreboard. Because hey, if I'm gonna win a championship 1-0 on a counterattack, and and I play defense and all this, hey, I'll take it. I'll take that. I'll take the win all day long. Yeah. But if I play beautifully and oh my God, and then I keep losing and losing and losing,
you're gonna be without a job eventually.
Yeah. And it's not fun.
No.
It's not fun to lose. It's not fun because then you cannot recruit, and it's results.
Yeah.
Kids are also attracted to results. Like, how's your season? They're not gonna ask you, well, what is your possession percentage? No, they're gonna ask you like, how's your season? Oh, we're 2-14. Oh, bye.
That's true. That's true.
So we have to also put that element in it. So that's my philosophy.
What are some of your goals for this season?
Some of my goals for this season is, well, first of all, stay healthy. Last season we had a lot of injuries and they were out of our control. So I want to stay healthy. So far, so good. And I want to be, I'll try to be top 3, top 4 in the conference. Like I know it's a big challenge, but that's what I want.
Who's looking like the top team in the conference right
John
now?
Brown. John Brown, USAO. Mike Q used to be there. They're struggling right now, but they still have a good team. Our conference is tough. Yeah, our conference, the Sooner Athletic Conference is pretty tough. They have always like 3 teams that are ranked nationally, and others receiving votes and stuff. So they're always like, and then always this team pops up and they have a great season. Like last year was Central Christian. They went to nationals on the National Christian thing, but nobody expected them because they were always kind of like, meh. And then last season they
clicked at the right time.
We were beating them 3-0 last year, and then we lost 4-3. And again, 3-0 the first 15 minutes of the game. Yeah. And I thought, oh, this is gonna be crazy. And then we the team relax completely.
Yeah.
And then we panic, and then...
Those are the good experiences, though.
Those are the best.
What other problems would you want to have if you weren't? I mean, I guess you'd be a dentist then, right?
Yeah.
Are you no more dentist then, or what?
No, I can't do it here. It takes a lot of things. Yeah.
See.
Yeah.
Are you pressed on time?
No.
No.
I'll just check in.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
What else?
So no more dentistry.
No more dentistry. No. Do you play soccer?
Not really.
No. Have you watched any local soccer? Any Sunday league, anything like that? Se pone bueno.
Sí.
Yeah, just a few weeks ago they had a final down here by St. Mary's.
Oh, I saw that. I saw the pictures. Mm-hmm. It looked like
they get like
fun.
400 or 500 people out there.
Wow.
It gets really intense. I've recorded a few in the past few years. I didn't go this year, but those are pretty fun. That's where I got to learn to play, where my dad played. My dad played. He was a goalie. I played through middle school, high school, and then ended up playing with him on those fields too. So yeah, those fields have been there for 30 years.
Yeah. No, maybe it's because, when I started coaching, I was already like 36, 37. And I thought, like, what am I doing playing with 16-year-old kids? Like, that's not going to be good. So when I was at WSA in West Bank in Tulsa, the first year that I was coaching girls, they were 98. So back then, they were like 17, and they were like, Coach, play. And I was like, okay, I'll play. And their fields are like not great, the practice fields. So I went in and I sprained my ankle so bad in a hole that I thought I broke it. It was that bad. And I was like, that's
not worth it.
That's why I don't want to do this.
Yeah, we all get to that point where we're just done. Yeah. But I feel like what we lack here is a veterans league. I mean, como me encanta ver los videos on Facebook of these old 40, 50 plus men playing in their 40, 50 plus league, still kicking the crap out of each other.
I know. That's...
Nah, not me.
I already got kicked so many times that I'm like, I'm done with that. Yeah.
And then you have kids too, right? Do any of them play?
My oldest used to play, and he actually played 1 year as a freshman at SNU, but he didn't like it. He didn't think that that's what he wanted to do. And Adam tried to recruit him, but he was like, nah, I don't want to play anymore. So he does bodybuilding right now. So
nice.
That's what he does. Yeah.
How was that for you?
Yes, that's what he wanted. Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like I would love to see my son play. Yeah. He's 4 years old. He doesn't like it yet, but I have hope that maybe my daughter will. She's 3. But I don't know.
I mean, when he played high school, he played club, and I have fun, I enjoy it.
Just watching. Huh?
It's whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
Awesome. As long as they do a sport, I think it's good, because sports brings discipline and all these things, the structures and all that. So, he said, I'm done with that, and now I'm gonna lift weights. And okay, great. And then he's very dedicated. And, all this stuff. So that's fine.
Nice.
My youngest one runs cross country, and he's starting to get into, like, he wants to box. Like, he discovered, the older Mexican fighters. So he's watching videos on YouTube, Julio Cesar Chavez and all this, and I'm like, but we don't have those anymore. We have Canelo now and, others, but he loves that. So I was like, I want to box. I said, well, I don't know any, like, real boxing gyms here. Like, I don't know.
There are a few.
Yeah.
There's a few here in the south side where he can get a good workout. We still have Saucedo. Alex Saucedo, who's a local professional boxer here. Okay. So there are a few gyms. Okay. I'll probably send you some links. But I like it because it looks like a nice workout. If I wasn't to work out in soccer anymore, I think box would be another like long time, like high intensity for short bursts workout that I feel like I'd enjoy. Yeah. You said boxing as him watching boxing now and you trying to explain boxing to him as the old days where it's just never going to be the same.
I hope it changes, because that always happens. Like, the new generations, the old generations always said, that's not music, that's not real. On my days, blah blah blah. We did the same thing with our parents, with our grandparents, and things always like improved or changed. Like, people, I bet people said, like, oh, we'll never be another player like Pele. Oh, never. And then Maradona came out.
Never gonna be another.
And never will be another Maradona. And then Messi comes on, and Ronaldo comes along, and so it'll be not the same maybe, but for that generation, it's gonna be great, because you have to experience that.
Yeah, but for boxing, I don't know. Alguien que le llegar like Julio Cesar Chavez.
No, it's very tough.
Who's gonna do 86-0?
Yeah.
And then I don't know.
89. If it was at 89-0.
That's insane. And he would. those type of fighters were just like el que se ponga.
Yeah.
I don't care who it is. You disrespect, let's go. And now it's just very pick your fights.
Elitist. Yeah, they pick the fights really carefully. And before it was like, I'll go. And then I think I saw a documentary on him, and he will fight like 3 or 4 times a year. That's crazy.
Back to back. Yeah, what nothing. I was very
now, like once a year maybe. You know? Like, what?
I watched the Canelo fight this weekend at a family party, and I was very disappointed in what I had seen. I was very much a Canelo fan. My parents being from Jalisco, like there's no reason for me not to like the guy. But this last fight, I was just like...
But we go back to this is like the national team. Like I watched it before. I watched him before, and I was like, yeah, that's not my cup of tea. I'm not gonna watch it.
It's hard to watch, especially after this past 2 years. Like that's the worst thing that could have happened. Losing to USA 2 or 3 times in the final. Like we play it off like it's not that big deal, but that's pretty bad. Ya no somos los reyes de la CONCACAF.
No.
So it's just. But I always like to go in there with some blind like passion and just be like, anything can happen. You know, imaginémonos cosas chingonas. Let's just do something great.
And that's the thing, like you never know, because in the World Cup, you know, this with Tata Martino, it hasn't been the best. I mean, it hasn't been the worst performances and stuff, but it hasn't been the best. And then you can go to the World Cup like that, and then boom, you go to the 5th game, and then you're gonna be like, what?
Yeah, and then he's not that
you
bad.
You never know. But now there's more teams that go to the World Cup, and there's it's changing a lot. So I don't know if I like that either.
You don't like it? You don't want them to open it up to more people?
No, because then, you know...
That loses what it was, kind of.
Yeah, it's what is competition trophy? Like, you're here, you pay, you're on.
It'd be similar to... even if they moved it for 2 years, that'd be detrimental.
That's the stupidest. Yeah.
Well, are you excited for it to come to Mexico, USA, Canada, and next World Cup?
I mean, that would be fun. Yeah, I think it'll be cool.
You wouldn't go to Monterrey and watch a game?
Maybe. I've never been to the stadium until this summer. We went to Monterrey, and then we went to watch actually the U.S. The women's team played, and it was funny because, you know, the women's have won the World Cup like I think 3 times, and they're the best team in the world. And man, there were hardly like 500 people in that stadium.
Really?
Yeah. So. That's where you tell the difference. Like, there's a lot of people that still like don't buy that product.
Well, it's getting there because they pass it more on TV now in Mexico. The 2 times that I went last year, I got to see Liga MX Femenil going on, and they have it going on, but it's just like you said, it's just not there.
I think like, to be fair, like when the men's league started, and that's the problem that I see, is that a lot of women supporters, they press on what's today. But they don't think about, well, wait a minute. They started in 1930.
Yes.
And there was no sponsors. They had 2 or 3 jobs, and then they played and all. And it took like 20-something, 30 years for them to become professional. And, you know, I mean, my dad, when he played in the 70s and late 70s. His salary wasn't great. When he retired, like 3 or 4 years later, that's when they start paying better to the soccer players. But before, you had to have another job. So I don't think that they see that it might get there, but you can't start a league and in 5 years expect the same amount of support that it has taken like 80 years for another. And they'd say, oh, but you know, they have all these games televised and all this. Well, yeah, because it's been like decades.
They've been working at it for 80 years.
For a long time. So I feel like it can get there. They just have to be patient as well. Like they're paving the way, just like my dad and the guy before my dad, they paved the way for all these guys now to make tons of money.
Sí, sí.
You know what I mean? Like, so.
Pero al fin del día es un negocio.
It is a business, yeah.
Yeah, and I concur with what you're saying. It's like, they walked for you to be able to run, kind of thing. Like, it's almost like the story they tell themselves. Like, yeah, sure, you're not getting paid enough, but look at where you're at now. They're not going through the struggles that they had to go through for them to be where they are now. So yeah, that is true. That is true.
And it's just a matter of like, that's how it is. Yeah, like you are one of the founders, and you know, this happened and then and
Kind of reminds me of like the interest rates right now. People are freaking out because they're like a 5-6. Well, if you look at the graph and see where it was 20 years from now, you'll see that it was at one point maybe 13, 14. So is it really that bad? But I totally agree with you.
It's perspective. It's just perspective.
Nice. So what are you working on then right now for yourself? Like what's something that you're working on?
Well, right now I'm doing a online course on Barcelona. It's called.
Okay.
So I'm doing on developing like fitness for teams and all that. So I got nutrition and fitness and injury prevention and all that. It lasts 6 months. So I'm starting the 3rd month. So it's been challenging because, with season and I don't think I planned it really good. And when I jump in that, and, do all the stuff and the homework and all that. But, it's been fun. So I'm doing that. We started recruiting. Continue recruiting because that never stops. And just, going day by day with the team, like, planning the sessions and, scouting the other team and giving the reports.
It's a full-time job, isn't it?
It is a full-time job.
People don't think it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of work. And for the players might see you 3 hours, but it's really 10, 8 hours, 15 hours a day.
Yeah. That's why on the weekends I like to unplug and just be with my family, and I don't watch soccer because I do that all week. So, I try to decompress and just hang out with my wife and my kids and, spend time. Because, first of all, it's college soccer. Yeah. Come on. In Oklahoma. We're not EPL, we're not Liga MX, we're not getting paid like $350,000. You know what I mean? Like, it'll be different if I was like that. Then I'll be like, oh my gosh, I need to work more.
I hear you walking around like the Joker. Why so serious?
Yeah. Because, there's coaches that they go nuts.
Yeah.
They lose sleep. They will wake up like at 2 a.m. and thinking about the game, and it's like, dude, like, calm down. Or they want to give so much to the player now, so much information, that we forget that the players are also students. So they already have classes, they have this, and we want to treat them like professionals, but they're not professionals, right? So we need to balance it and be real. But like I said, we're at school in Oklahoma. Let's calm down. Let's take it serious, but come on. Come on.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's funny. That's funny that you say that. Well, what else? You have some more pictures? Let me see some more pictures before we end this podcast, because I feel like you might have another story hidden around here somewhere.
Joel Sanchez and Osvaldo Sanchez there too. Oh, look at this one. You like that one?
Yes, I see.
Oh, so this is cool because I went with my dad one time to Argentina. So this guy is Jorge Burruchaga. He scored the winning goal in Mexico '86 in the World Cup. Maradona gave him the pass, and they beat the Germans 3-2.
Really?
So we went to his house to eat asado, and we were eating, and all those guys. So that's my dad, and all these guys played that World Cup. So we're eating at his house, and then he gets a phone call, and he said, "Diego is coming. Diego Maradona, about to pass out."
Really?
I was like, "Oh my gosh! Like he's gonna come and." Because, I'm a huge Maradona fan.
Yeah.
But he ended up not going. But those were like the 5 minutes where I thought I was going to have a heart attack. I was like, oh my gosh, yeah. And that was in 98. So he just, the World Cup just happened. He was still playing. I think he was playing for Boca Juniors or something like that. So I was like, oh my gosh, he was active.
No, those are the kind of people that when you see them walk in, have an aura, like an energy.
I like this picture. I don't know if you know this guy, but this is Antonio Carvajal, La Tota. He's the only Mexican that has played 5 World Cups.
Really?
Yeah, he was a goalkeeper. I think him and Lothar Matthäus are the ones that...
Only 5?
Yeah, 5 World Cups is a lot.
25 years.
Yeah.
No, son 20 años.
Yeah.
You have so many pictures.
Yeah. Oh, this is cool. That's the credentials in the World Cup in '91.
Wow. Just yesterday, I went to go pick up my Panini book to put some stickers on it.
Oh, yeah?
I was telling my wife about it, and I was like, this makes me feel like a little kid because, man. And I would only find those in Mexico, too.
So that's how far I go back with soccer.
Wow.
My dad, and that's me.
So you always had a ball there?
Always. Always.
I heard this quote, and it hit me real hard. I think I heard it yesterday or the day before yesterday. And it said, the ultimate sign of doing good with your kids is if your kids want to hang out with you when they're growing up. And that one was just like, damn, that's ultimate. If my kid can grow up to want to hang out with me after he's gone, there's nothing better than that, because they know your faults. They know how you are when you wake up at 3 a.m. They know all of that. And you very much hung out with your dad after you left your house.
Oh, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I think when we move up here, I will call him, if not every day, almost every day.
See?
Yeah, and then when I started getting into soccer, he was very excited.
Yeah?
So
he was in Monterrey at the time? Nice.
So, he kept everything, like a journal and all the practices and stuff, and so I kept all that stuff, like all his practices. And
you should continue keeping it. What are you going to do with all that stuff? Are you going to hang it, or?
This? I don't know. But I just, wanted to show you a little bit of... This is when he was in Honduras, yeah. I don't know if he's...
You can open a little museum. I've seen people open a museum. Almost like that picture of that restaurant with all those soccer photos in the back.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, that's when he coached in Honduras, Toluca. Yeah.
This is great.
And I threw away a lot of things.
Did you?
Yeah, because there's a lot of paper clips that they were just in there and in a box, and I was like, what am I doing?
Nah, this is history. I'm the type that if I get something, I keep the box.
Yeah.
I don't like to throw anything away. I bought 2 Panini books, one so I can put stickers in it, and one so I can throw it in the box and not open it. I bought 20 packets so I can open 10 and keep 10.
No, I cannot do that.
That's a problem, though. That's my problem. My wife hates me for that, but
a hoarder.
Yeah, I'm one of the good ones. I'm one of the good ones. This is amazing.
Yeah.
This is amazing. You have stories to tell your kids and your grandkids.
Oh yeah. I tell my players too the stories. Like, yeah, they're funny.
I mean, why not?
Yeah. My first game that I when I debuted with the national team, I went in like the last 15 minutes, and the first ball that I touched was a shot on goal.
Really?
I hit the ref on the back of the head.
Isn't it funny how life happens like that though? You had your chance.
I had the crowd they loved me for that.
Oh, that's fun. This is great. Yeah. So much history. It's stuff that I really want. It's kind of why I do the podcast too, because I'll throw it on YouTube and it'll never go away.
The one thing that I do keep is I have a box with all the jerseys from
that he collected.
No, that I have collected, like from players that I played with or that I knew, and I was like, hey, give me your jersey, and then so I have like Joel Sanchez, all those guys. Like I have a ton. I have a big box.
I think it's amazing how for those players, that's una camisa. It's a jersey. It's just whatever. But for someone like you, you have a whole box collected. Yeah. I love looking at the players that swap jerseys and change them out.
Yeah, let me show you. There's one that I like. Let's see if I brought it. I don't know if I brought it. You know who Menotti is?
Menotti, no.
Cesar Luis Menotti. Well, he won the World Cup with Argentina in '74. He discovered Maradona, so that's him. That's my dad. He coached Mexico. He's the guy that everybody gives him credit for changing Mexico's mentality. And then Mejia Barón took over in '94 in the World Cup in USA. But he's the one that made the team, the players to believe that they can beat anybody and blah blah blah. And because they used to call us ratones verdes in Mexico because we were just like packing in the back and just like not try to play.
And
so
he broke
that guy, that guy brought it.
And you say what you said that he did is what people say we need now is that mentality switch to break through that fifth game and just to go and believe. You must have been eavesdropping in on a lot of great conversations.
All the time, like I told you, like that's why I love it. I love it with my dad because he'll go like, I have a meeting with Menotti in the morning. I'm going to go drink coffee and want to come. And I was like, yeah, I'll come. So I'll listen to him talk. So I've listened to him, had conversations with my dad with Bielsa when Bielsa was in Atlas in Mexico. And then one time they ran into each other in in the airport, and I was with my dad. So we were there like 5-6 hours just talking soccer.
And it's funny because the higher it goes, it almost seems like the simpler the conversation. It's not even about soccer. It's just how do we improve them and
it's a lot
holistically
of,
ways.
Yeah, like a lot of life things. Like, it's not tactics. Like, I play with a 3-5. No, it was more like, this guy has this problem and blah, blah, blah. And the grass is too tall, or this and that. And I tell him to water it like this. And I mean, little things, technical things like that,
Are you superstitious?
No.
No? Okay, never mind. Because there's players that are just so superstitious.
No.
That's good.
I'm not. Actually, I'm, the opposite. Like, the other day, we always play white, blue, and white. And I told the girls, let's play white, black, and white. Oh, I had some girls that were freaking out.
Because it's not going to match with their tape.
And it's not what we play. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It's not that big a deal. Let's just go out there and play.
But I always do it on my teams. I always try to switch up things.
Because it's fun to watch them squirm sometimes.
Yeah. And it's also like, to me, like, it's not... I've been around this to see that luck is going to be...
Yeah.
If you work hard, you might attract luck better.
Opportunity is when luck and preparation meet each other. So
yeah, exactly. So I'm not superstitious.
Do you have any other great story that you can share with us before we let you go? One of many, because I feel like you have so many. Or is there a moment in your life that kind of just left you with your jaw open? I know you just talked to me about Maradona, but are there any other?
Well, when my dad was coaching in America on the team in Mexico City, we live like 6 blocks from the club, and he was coaching 3rd division. So America fired their coach, and then they hired this guy from Holland. His name is Leo Benaker. And this guy coached in Real Madrid, coached the national team, Coach Cruyff and all these people, right? But they're almost same age as Cruyff. So he took over, and my dad was coaching the 3rd division. So my dad asked him, like, hey, do you mind if I come and watch your practices? Because my dad saw that everything was totally different. So we're talking about 1994, I think. So the way that he went about preparation and training sessions was very different from what everybody was doing in Mexico. So my dad started taking notes and, doing this and that. And then one time my dad was running a session, and Leo was walking by. And he stuck around and he watched the session. So the next day he called up my dad in the morning to his office to drink coffee. And he asked him in his very thick, like Spaniard accent, hey, I've noticed that you were practicing yesterday with the team and blah, blah, blah. And my dad said, yeah, we were doing this and that. And they said, I noticed that you're doing my drills. And my dad said, yeah. I've been taking notes and, I try to do the drills. And I said, why? Why are you taking my drills? And my dad says, well, because you're the head coach of the club. So I want my team to be ready and prepared so when they move up, or if you move up, they play with you and they'll be fine. And he's like, So, and then the next day he hired him as his assistant.
Wow.
And then on the team, on the 3rd division team, there was a player, a skinny player that my dad had, and then he moved up to the first team. His name is Cuauhtémoc Blanco.
No manches.
Yeah.
No manches. That's wild.
So, like I said, my dad was very humble. I always try to learn, but that guy impacted his life, because I'm telling you, it's all what we hear now, positional play and this and that, and it was that back then. So I've seen this and I've heard of this for a long time. So for me, it's kind of cool, to see all these little things. And there's a lot of coaches and people in Mexico that recognize my dad as he was kind of ahead of his time in a lot of things, right? He didn't have a lot of success or chances to coach in Mexico, but when he went to Central America and all that, he had a lot of success.
Por algo.
Because he applied those things. Yeah.
Por algo. Not only that, but you said humble.
Yeah, he was very humble.
Not a lot of people would stick around to watch somebody else's training. 2, take notes. 3, take that in, change your philosophy, change what you're doing to implement something new. Even just that, it just speaks a lot, just because a lot of the ego that we were talking about. Some people just say, no, that's That's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm going to do my way.
Yeah.
But no, he took it, used it. And I also believe that's kind of how people should take art. If you don't know how to draw, copy somebody else's style. Learn it, master it, and then add your twist. Add your slice. That's how I started making videos. I saw one guy make it. I'm going to make it just like that. And then over time, I created my own style out of that style. That's crazy. And then to have brought up Cuauhtémoc Blanco también too, which is, he was he nice with it back in the day? He had to have been nice with it.
Who?
Cuauhtémoc.
Oh, he's always
Desde
been a
siempre,
mess.
¿verdad?
Always a mess. He's always been crazy.
But he's native del DF, no? Yeah, so that's probably.
I mean, fun guy, but oh man, yeah, he was always pranking people and it was a mess. Yeah.
He seems like the type of guy that I probably wouldn't like, but you got to, you know.
But you want to have him in your team.
On your team?
Oh yeah, 100%.
I also heard another story about how he just some controversy. He didn't make the cut for that World Cup. Whether it was because he had beef with somebody.
Yeah, with La Volpe.
Yeah, that's kind of sad. You know, it would have been good to see him go.
It's kind of like what's going on with Chicharito right now.
It's a shame.
Yeah.
I honestly think it's a shame. Yeah. But, I mean, I'm not the one to complain. I'm not the coach. But it's just like, I don't know. And then you get onto the pláticas with Coach Argentino, y si se lleva Furis Mori, and considering how he's playing. And I want to see Chicharito go, and because he's the leading goal scorer. He's scoring goals pues, out of respect, too. You know, like
I just never understood the hate for him.
Chicharito?
Yeah, from the Mexicans. Like,
I don't either.
You know, he's played in Real Madrid. He's played in Manchester United, and either by mistake or with his nose or with his ear, but he scores goals.
Amazing.
Everywhere that he's been, he scores goals. So he has to have something, right? And he might not be the most aesthetic scoring the goals, but he does. So to me, that's what you want a forward to be.
It's the leading goal scorer.
So I tell my girls that if they cross the ball, just put something on it.
Yeah.
Okay, if it's your nose,
anything,
your ear, you score a goal. It's a goal.
I was explaining that to somebody, and considering the team that Mexico has, you know, you have some good wingers who are going to put some ball in. We had Tecatito, who would take anybody in one-on-one. Lozano, Linus now, you know, and such good wingers that we just need somebody in the box with the presence. And there's no other person that can come to mind that's not going to score. And then Vela's not playing either.
I know, that's one of the ones that I like a lot.
I'm just like, what's
Vela, Tecatito is a good player, but Vela is one of the ones that I was like, oh, what a shame.
He never liked. The story is that he never liked soccer. He just does it because he's good at it. Yeah. So
that's a good job.
He got blessed.
Yeah.
He got blessed with some talent.
Yeah, because his brother played and he wasn't that good.
No,
he wasn't that great. No, Carlitos is the one that did really good.
And he's still shining, man. Well, we'll see. Fingers crossed. I'm hoping. Your dad coached. You've seen a lot of Mexico jerseys. Where does this jersey stand up, the white one, with all the other Mexico national jerseys? Do you like it?
Have the new ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like them. Yeah.
I like them. I really love the white one.
Yeah, it looks really nice.
But
I wasn't sure about the last design that they had, like the green one with the...
thing. I didn't like that one.
Mean,
that's not one of my favorites.
But my favorite has been this white one is pretty good. The one in '94 that has the Aztec thing.
That's the one that was
really cool. Yeah. The ABBA Sport and the black one. When they came out with the black one, that was really cool too because it was different. It was like, oh man. And then everybody wanted to do black, everything, right? Even me.
Could be worse. We could have the USA jerseys, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the blue one. The blue one looks nice, but the white one was
not great. It looks like an old shirt that they used to have. Maybe a training top.
You know which one was really cool? I like a lot the one that they used in '94. It was a blue one with like stars. That was really cool.
USA.
Yeah. And they play with blue, red, and white, I think, and it looked really cool. But then they have, you know, I like the simple ones. So the simple ones look cool on them, but.
Adidas does it great.
Yeah.
Adidas does it best. Are you Adidas or Nike?
Well, right now I'm Under Armour because that's what we get. But
if you had to choose.
But Adidas. I like Adidas a lot.
Nice.
Yeah. If I had that,
Nice. What team do you support in Liga MX? No, ninguno.
No, because I have friends all over. And when I was little, I was Chivas.
Yeah.
I was Chivas because my dad was Chivas. So I was like, Chivas. But then when I turned like 15 years old, I started playing more. and then interacting with players from different teams, and so it was hard for me to this guy plays in Leon and this guy plays in Tigres, and I like both, and so I started to focus in more on like what team I like, how they play, and I like this team, and I like that team, and that's what I got.
Nice.
My cousin said that I'm boring, but
some people don't like to hear people that don't have favorites. I don't mind it, because when they ask me the question about who you like in Europe or in England, I kind of give them the same thing. I really like to watch the soccer. When it comes to Mexico, de sangre, así, rojo y blanco. So we're gonna stick with that one. Yeah. With Atlas too, son de Jalisco too. Tecos cuando estaban Tecos, los estudiantes or whatever.
Yeah, so, my dad always had the joke that they'll ask him like, "Who do you go for?" And he said, "The one that wins."
Yeah, that's my dad right there. ¿A quién le vas? Pues el que gane. Sí, dale, pues, dale.
Yeah. Nice. Hey, and then you never lose.
No, you never lose. Well, I appreciate you coming by.
I appreciate it.
Telling me your story, sharing me a bit of your history, and it's really been nice to soak all of this in. And I'm going to be looking forward to see how the season's going to end for this year.
Thank you.
And
Thank
see
you
what else you have in store. Like,
we'll see.
Professional or what? I mean, you're still studying. You're just seeing
whatever God takes me, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Well, if not, you'll just be a dentist again, I guess, or something, right?
Probably not. No, I had my fair share of that. I'm done with that. Soccer's worth that.
All right. Yeah. Well, this has been a great episode. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Of course. And for the listeners, if you've listened to it this far, I appreciate you guys as well. This has been another episode of the Más Futbol podcast con Juan De Dios.
Castillo.
I said, why did I say Juan De Dios? Juan Castillo. My apologies.
No, Juan De Dios Castillo.
Juan De Dios Castillo. Bueno, that's where I got the Dios.
A long name, yeah.
Juan De Dios Castillo, head coach of the Southwestern Christian women's team.
Okay.
Thank you, man. Thank you.